Hello, everyone. My name is Padmini Nidumolu, and I'm the co-founder of Lean and Agile for women. It's an initiative with a mission to bring women across the globe on a common platform to learn, share, and support each other. And our vision has been to reach out to as many women in Lean and Agile spaces as we can, so we can learn from the journeys and challenges of these women who not just survived, but thrived. One of the cornerstones of our initiative is LIA100. It is to bring stories of 100 phenomenal women leaders across the world. And we are not claiming comprehensiveness. There could be many women across the world that we haven't identified yet. But these are the women who were nominated by the community, who we all know to be great leaders, and we will continue these interview series and to learn from these women as we go further. And as part of this LIA100, I'm really excited today to introduce you to someone whose mission is to revolutionize and humanize the way we work, the focus on human development of people in organizations. It's a huge goal. It's a very honorable goal. And she, in fact, strongly aligns with organizations that genuinely care about their people. So people is her theme and her mission. She's a second generation Agile coach, with her father being first generation Agile coach. He's one of her mentors, coaches. She's a speaker and a very active member of the Agile community. And she joined a group of enthusiasts, in fact, last year, who set out to design a manifesto for HR people, Agile people in Sweden. She's a surfer, she's a snowboarder. She in fact loves anything with a board because she likes the balancing act. Like many women, right? We like to balance work, home, and everything. And she loves to sew. So she's actually getting a sewing station in the room that you're seeing now. And also one of the very interesting, in fact, I wanted to save it as a surprise to the end, but I'll let you know that she's the first I know who did some very interesting work in creating something called an Agile Rap. So let's welcome, with further ado, Cheryl Tansey to LIA100. Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Kia ora, good morning. Good morning from New Zealand. I realize it's the afternoon.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. I'm just so happy to be part of what it is that you're creating, sharing these journeys. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here from the other part of the world, the Down Under, as we call. So, Cheryl, I'm really intrigued by you being a second generation Agile coach, right? Your father is an Agile coach, and he did, tons of great work for several decades. Tell us a little bit about, the difference, or, if the gap, if any, between what he saw the world as with Agile coming in and, your experience with Agile. Is it a lot different because of this generational gap between you two? Do you talk about it with each other? And then what are the observations?
Yeah, we talk about this stuff a lot. We talk in Post-it notes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's something we've explored a bit more in the last few years, and especially since I've moved back to New Zealand in the last 9 months. Is what are our different styles, and how does that show up in organizations? And something that's become really apparent, and I'm not sure if this is generational or if it is specific to me, but certainly for myself, the people side of the coaching in organizations has always been my priority, and always been what I'd love to do. A lot of the work that he's done over many years with organizations has been around understanding the entire organization, looking at the processes that need to be changed, looking at the infrastructure that exists in the organization. So a lot more to do with the mechanics around this stuff, and pulling some of that apart. Whereas for myself, it's always been around the reason I got into it is because I believe that people have the potential to be great. And so the coaching that I do is all around tapping into people. It just so happens that a lot of the agile mindset and the frameworks and the different options around that support developing humans. So that's been a big difference in our two styles. And they really nicely complement each other. He's taught me a lot of the foundational stuff and the infrastructure and understanding how to optimize these different processes. And then I come in with the people-centric side of it. I'm constantly asking the questions around how will this support people? How will this benefit our people? So that's been, I'm not entirely sure if that's generational, if that's personality, but I think we're definitely seeing a rise in consciousness of this next generation coming through around the impact that we have on each other.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And, in fact, we are looking at the next generation, right? After us coming in, all the millennials, right? And the way they look at Agile, the transparency and the trust, and most importantly, the collaboration, because they think different, they communicate different. So I think it'll be a very interesting, probably decade to come to see the mixture and, the convergence, if you will.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, is I find a lot of the younger generation in organizations don't have as big a jump to understand some of this stuff. This feels a lot more intuitive to them, certainly around the sharing economy and the concept of looking after our planet, around each other. There's a lot more social consciousness that already exists in these young people. So I find when I teach them around Agile, I can see them going, this is just how I think anyway.
Right.
So I think we'll see a big shift with that next generation coming through.
Yeah, and then positive, right? A big positive shift, definitely. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So tell us a little bit about the Agile people and the manifesto that you went to Sweden, and I think you worked with Pia Thoren, right, in Sweden. So tell us a little bit about the Agile people and why is there a need to design a manifesto around it? Can you share with us a little bit about that?
I'd love to. It's really an incredible movement that's begun. Pia Thoren, who is the author of the book Agile People, has been working in this space for many, many years, and has been leading the charge on this message around how do we develop the agility of people within our organizations. And so this movement that she's begun is, she wrote a book and said, here's how I see things. And then people all around the world went, yes, we align to it. So she's really set a vision around what this looks like and has basically attracted people from all over the world. She put a call out, I think, probably about 6 months ago, saying, I'm going to be in Sweden on these dates. I'd like to invite people from our community, the Agile people community that have studied with her. So everyone that attended has studied with Pia at some point. And we all met. There were 19 of us from 15 different countries.
That's amazing.
It was incredible. And in reality, we didn't really have much of a plan. We were just coming together to discuss and ideate on what the future of this people agility looks like. And you've got so many different perspectives and thoughts that came into the room. There were definitely some heated conversations at different times. Because, people are so passionate about this stuff, which is so important. There's so much passion and drive to shift and change. So that was sort of the essence of it. And we're just finalizing the final draft. What we realized is 2.5 days isn't enough time for 19 people to come to a consensual decision on how we're going to word this. So we got a first draft out at the end of the coach camp. And we've been working remotely from around the world to refine and define that. So keep an eye out. It should in probably the next month or so. It'll be something that's going to be released out into the world.
Awesome. We'll definitely keep an eye on it because, 19 people from 15 countries, it can get more diverse than that.
Yeah.
We are super excited. Awesome. Now, with that opportunity then, right, you got to kind of spend those 2.5 days talking about people, talking about,
Mm.
the impacts of people agility. And you had like 15 people, 19 people from 15 countries. Based on that experience and your overall experience, with organizations, right, Cheryl, can you share a little bit about what your view or perspective is around the impact of diversity on organizations? And I want you to kind of look through the lens of diversity, gender diversity for this conversation purpose,
Mm.
and totally acknowledging and honoring that there are many diversities, many types of diversities. But if you can focus on gender diversity for this conversation.
Big topic.
It is.
um, I guess I can share a little on my experience. I stepped into the IT world almost 10 years ago, and it was not particularly diverse in terms of females being involved within these teams. I've always been in a capacity of supporting others in technical teams. So originally as a project manager, moving into coaching, Scrum Master. So always in a supporting role of these teams. And one of the things I'm always working with teams on is to find harmony and balance amongst that team in order for it to perform at a really high level. Right. And so when we talk about diversity, like you said, there's so many different layers of it. I'm always looking for the optimal diversity of a team in terms of skill sets that they bring, perspective that they bring. The more abstract their thinking is, usually the more innovation we'll get within that team.
Yeah.
So often I'm not looking gender specific around that. I'm looking for a match of energies amongst the team. But without a doubt, females and males bring very different energies to a group.
Yeah.
The feminine and the masculine energies completely shift the dynamics of it. I've had different organizations I've worked in, including a large mining company in Singapore, very male dominated. And you can feel the shift in energies. You can feel that there is a different level of thinking that happens when you have a large group of people that are of one gender, that are making decisions. And often and this is possibly generalizing, but often when it's just men making decisions, we often, part of that people element again, that feminine energy is often missed. And we can overlook the people dynamics within a group. There'll often be quite a lot of desire to be right, desire to have their thing be the winning thing. And often we lose then the dynamics of the whole team performing. So I think,
so true.
Bringing, and traditionally it was a lot of the teams I worked with, we would have development heavy in the male side of it. And we'd throw a couple of designers into the team to create some cross-functional teams. And often those designers were females. Originally, so this was sort of the first experimentation that I got of kind of mixing genders together and working together. But slowly over the years, we've seen more females come through in the development track, and we've seen more males coming through in the designer track. So that gender-specific roles, we're seeing less of that. Also, as we're moving away from specialist roles and starting to move into T-shaped people, we're starting to see that that it is no longer gender specific in terms of being good at that role. So so those are some of the, I guess, the challenges that I look at when I'm bringing teams together. Having that mixture of masculine and feminine energy in a team really can make a huge difference for the performance and the flow of that team as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm privy to that as well. And you rightly said that. I think it's the energy shift, right? It's the convergence of energies. And having the balance in those energies really brings out the best in the team, right? As the team is storming and forming. Yeah. And one thing that I wanted to touch on, Cheryl, is you're a speaker, you're a contributor, to your local meetups, conferences, and you set out to be a coach, at some point in your career. And I ask of all the interviewers this question, which brought about very interesting responses as to what was the first dialogue, or what was the first series of dialogues that you had internally as internal barriers when you wanted to do any of these, right? Speaking engagements, or going and coaching. How did you break that barrier? How did you come out of that realm?
So the dialogue went something like this. Who are you to speak on this topic? Why should anyone listen to you? What is it that you've got to share that's any different to anyone else? Those are the sorts of stories that were happening in my head. And it took me probably 3 years, 2 to 3 years, to go from that point of I would love to share some of my stories to actually stepping on stage. So that took me a few years to get through that. The catalyst for me was I had decided, I was living in Vancouver at the time, and I decided I was moving back to New Zealand. And part of me felt I hadn't finished or done the things that I wanted to do over in North America. And one of them was speaking. And so all of a sudden, this time constraint of going, all right, I'm moving back to New Zealand. How am I going to do this? And it was actually a stroke of luck mixed with I'm forever an opportunist looking for opportunities. But I had actually contacted an event organizer in New York. Joe Krebs is his name. And he was organizing Agile New York City. And originally I contacted him saying, like, I would love to come to the event. At the time, I just started my own business and I had no funds. And I said, look, is there an opportunity that I could help at the event instead of in payment for the ticket? Right. I'd really love to learn more from watching, international speakers. And so he contacted me, and he had done some research on me. And he called me and said, I've looked at your profile and I've looked at your experience, and I'm actually wondering if you would like to be a speaker.
Wow.
And I credit him so much for actually seeing something that I knew I had the potential to do, but I was too terrified to actually ask for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time of actually realizing, wow, someone believes that I have something worth sharing.
Yeah.
And that gave me that belief in myself. I then spent the next month or two preparing tirelessly the perfect talk, and actually, in order to prepare for that, I wanted to do a practice run. Yeah. So I contacted a local Vancouver meetup and said, hey, look, I've got this talk coming up in New York. I'd really love to do it here in Vancouver first. And and that sort of is how it's flowed from there. And I think once you start to get acknowledgement as being a speaker, it starts to become, you've got that credibility there as well. So it's a little tricky to sometimes get started on that front. But meetups, Meetup has become the way to, in a smaller confidence space, you can kind of practice and test this. But I think if people have a story to tell, if they have things to share that others can learn from, it's such a powerful way to do that as well.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that, because our mission and the hope with LIA100 is anything that you say in this context can inspire someone somewhere who has probably been wanting to do something but has been struggling with a barrier that she can't overcome or he can't overcome, right? So that's the inspiration that we're looking for. And thank you for sharing that story. That's really powerful, right? So reach out and believe that you have the potential. Awesome.
And one last point on that as well, thinking if anyone is listening to this and thinking this is something I would love to do, one of my tips I was taught many years ago, I'm not sure who shared this with me, is if you want to be something or be someone, go and spend time with people that are already being it or doing it. And that was a huge learning for me. Was I ended up, after New York, I went on a bit of a tour throughout Europe. I self-funded to get to all of these different events around Europe, and I went and listened and I watched, and I would ask whether I could have a conversation with the speaker, and I would ask them about how had they got to that point. what had been their barriers. So I actually went out and surrounded myself with people that were doing what I wanted to be doing. So that's
awesome.
been a huge learning for me, is if there's something you want to be or do, find other people that are already being and doing it and go and spend time with them.
Yeah, love that. In fact, I'm going to make a note of this for myself. This is really valuable. Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. I'm sure, you have done so many self-funded tours. And as we are talking to you, I think, it's evident that you're a self-learner, self-starter, self-motivator. Can you share a little bit about, what really motivated you in terms of, can you share about any books, authors, podcasts, or any learning resources that you've come to love?
Yeah, I actually, in preparation for this question, I just ran next door into my living room to grab some books. I just thought, I always find you can learn a lot about a person by what's in their bookshelf.
Yes, absolutely.
So I grabbed 4 that I just
can you read them out for us? I don't think I'm
of
able to see the titles.
So I've got one of these here, Coaching for Performance. I think this is by John Whitmore, and a really, really incredible book purely around coaching. And this has no reference to Agile. This was written well before Agile became a big thing. But it was part of my reading material studying coaching in the UK. And I love it. I think it's really fantastic. And it uses the model, the GROW model as well, that I use for problem solving. Got a book from the Dalai Lama. I personally love small books.
Yes.
I often just pull out a little quote or a thought from him in order to just get my head in a good space.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the largest books I've ever read, which is called Learning in Adulthood. I did a course on Vancouver Island at the university there, all around adult education. It's a very, very large book, but it's got some incredible insight into adult learning, adult development, adult brains. So I love that. I often pull that open and jump on a page. And the last one here is, I bought this book last year when I was living in Singapore, Work Smarter, Live Better, by Cyril Pion. I might have said that wrong. This was a big game changer for me, this book. He talks a lot around having your 3 big rocks. So learning around focusing your attention and your energy on the things that are really important, and being able to acknowledge the things that are distractions and pushing them to the side, and being able to just maintain focus on the important things that you're working on. Wow. So that those are a few
those sound like very interesting and very powerful books. I'm going to replay this video and then recollect those book names and go get it, especially the Work Smarter one.
Yeah, I can take a photo and send it to you as well of them, so that you've got.
Thank you. Thank you. And I always wrap up the interviews with can you share a quote or a word or anything that you kind of believe in strongly, which just gets your day going or your career going?
Yeah. So I thought I might share a Maori proverb. So Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand.
Yeah.
And the Maori culture and the Maori language it's incredible. The simplicity and the depth of the messages in Maori and te reo language is beautiful. And so a proverb that often I find drives me in the work that I do. And the question is, he aha te mea nui o te ao, what is the most important thing in this world? And the answer to that is he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. It is the people, it is the people, it is the people.
Wow.
And that drives me every day. I wake up and there are days where this work is tough. It's hard. Yeah. We're working in amongst a lot of change, a lot of turmoil, a lot of shift in the way the whole world is moving. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's important for me anyway, that we look after people through all of that change. And if we look after the people, everything else will take care of itself.
That is so touching, Cheryl, truly. And what language is that?
Māori. Māori is the, so te reo is the language, and Māori is the culture in New Zealand.
That is outstanding. And I mean, as you were saying, it just sounded so spiritual. So, this is very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And finally, Cheryl, the fun part kicks in. This interview is not a wrap without your rap. And you should first share with us, how did you even come up with this concept of Agile Rap? That is super fun. And you're going to sing it for us, because I've not heard anyone do Agile Rap ever. So I can't wait, to not just read, but, hear you sing the rap.
Yeah. How did I come up with this?
Yeah.
It actually lines in a little bit to the question you were asking around as a speaker.
Yeah.
So I was due to do this talk in Vancouver, which was the talk before the New York talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I was due to do it was a Women in Tech event.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, 100, 150 women that had all gathered in central Vancouver. And they'd come to listen to me talk, and almost no one in the room knew who I was. And I was aware that often as females, we can be the harshest critics of other females.
Yes.
We have a lot higher expectations for other females than sometimes we do for men. So I was aware I was coming into a workplace, into a room full of all of these women that I didn't know. And I've got the inner dialogue of, who are you to be telling them anything, and what is this? And I remember talking to my sister on the phone, and I said, I'm really nervous about this talk. I'm worried that nobody will think I'm good, or they'll wonder why I'm there. And we talked about vulnerability, and I realized I needed to be vulnerable in order to show that I was there genuinely to share my story. And so I kind of played around with it for a bit, and then I love rap music. I grew up with a lot of rap, a lot of hip hop. Biggie and Tupac were my inspirations, and I thought I'll write a rap, and so I wrote this rap for that. It was just for that talk originally, just to build some relationship with the audience, and very quickly it became quite well known, and now any speaking engagement that I have, people ask for the rap. And still every single time before I'm about to do it, my stomach drops, and I go, oh my gosh, why did I decide to do it? So that's how it sort of came about.
It's interesting. Cool.
No, I don't have a beat with me. Sometimes I actually had the pleasure once of a guy that was just at the talk I was at was a beatboxer. So sometimes I have a beat, but I can do it without the beat. So I can.
I'm sure either way, it sounds fantastic. I'll go mute. I'll go quiet. I'm just going to enjoy your rap.
All right.
Go for it, Cheryl. We are rooting for you.
Let me tell you a little story about a dope idea. It came one night while I was in despair. I was heading up a development team, a project manager. We know what that means. Everything I tried and everything I did, it never worked out the way that I thought it would. I couldn't work out what was wrong with me, and I couldn't work out why my team were empty. Every day we tried, every day we hustled. The scope would creep, and we were still in a bustle. We built to spec, we built to deliver, still never met the end needs of the user. On top of this, my team were whacked. Late nights, early starts, we were stacked. And what does it mean when you burn people out? It means you're headed towards an energy drought. I lay there awake, trying to understand, trying to figure out why I'd failed my plan. Suddenly I realized I know what to do. I'll ask the team to navigate us through. I started to ask, I started to learn. Agile, Scrum, and charts that burn. I started to learn that humans will prevail when they know they're in a space that they can fail. My message is simple, people are great. Given the time and space to self-navigate. So if we want to start a humanistic approach, stop managing people and start to coach.
Oh my God. No,
Oh,
that was so beautiful. And especially the last line, right? You know, start to coach. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
That was
It's
powerful. That was
that's
really
been
powerful.
my journey, is moving from this idea of managing people and controlling people, to giving them the right environment to thrive. And
Enable them.
I
Yeah.
guess if there's anything that I can be known for, one day as a legacy, it's that I helped shift the dial on that.
That's just so amazing. And thank you for rapping, you know, for us. And if you can share the lyrics of this rap, I would like to kind of share
Yeah,
it with, you know, the audience who are watching,
of
because
course.
I
Yeah.
loved every choice of word you had in there. So, you know, I definitely want to share that. And I'm sure, you know, the viewers have enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah,
And
cool.
if and when, you know, we get to see you as a speaker, I don't think we are letting you go without doing this again on stage.
And I think, now given the enjoyment people get out of it, I think there's another rap coming. I'm working on my next EP release.
Wow, that would
Uh,
be fantastic. And when you have it, please let us know. I would like to add that to this video, okay?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll let you
give us
know
the
when it's ready
contact.
to drop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait. So thank you so much, Cheryl, for your time, your willingness to, you know, share all this, and especially for your rap. It just added so much zing and so much fun to this interview. Thank you so much. And, you know, we hope this generations, you know, the second generation, third generation, and on will continue, just
Mm.
that in you. And we will look for your, you know, Agile People Manifesto, your second rap, and the third generation to come. There's a lot to look forward with you, Cheryl.
It
So
sure is.
thank you so much, and honored to have you as part of LIA100 again.
Thanks, Padmini.